Here we go again, folks. This is Brian Anderson-Payne, and you're listening to the BAP Project on Art, Beats, and Lyrics Radio, ablradio.com. This is the guy who tells you don't complain about a world you won't attempt to change. Now listen now, I'm not saying don't complain. I'm just saying if you do, when you finish complaining, give me a solution. Otherwise, you become more a part of the problem versus the solution, and none of us want to be there because the reality is problem finders are everywhere. You'll hear me say this a lot. Problem finders are everywhere, but problem solvers are worth their weight in gold. Oh my God, how important is it to have problem solvers around you? And here's what I think that all of us need to remain aware of. We need to stay aware of this fact. As followers of Jesus, as believers, you and I, we have this responsibility. I mean, it's not something we can choose to do or not do. No, it's a responsibility that we have to make things different, to make things better. I can prove it because Matthew 5 is a scripture that says, you know, Jesus is speaking and he says, I'm pointing at you. You can't see it unless you're looking at the show on the internet. You are the salt of the earth. You, in other words, he's saying you are the element of change. You'll hear me say this a lot because I want to make sure it's branded in our heads. You're the element of change. And the reality is salt. It is every bit as important as whatever it's put on, whatever it goes on. It's just as important as that, if not more important, because what makes a great meal really isn't the meal. Not what makes a really great meal. It's not just the meal. It's not just the items on the menu, but really it's the proper use of the salt that you put on it. You got that? Can I say that to you? I can prove it to you. Here's how you prove it. You can give me a steak to cook. I won't even cook the whole steak. Cut half of the steak. I'll cook a half, and then you let Rachel Ray cook the other half. Now, I'm telling you, I am already confident when the steak is done. Now, she cooks hers the way she wants to. I cook mine the way I want to. When you bite into her steak, I am pretty sure that the heavens are going to open up and angels are going to sing and it's going to just be wonderful. And then when you bite into my steak, I don't even know what to tell you. You know, it's not going to be the same thing. And the reason is not because of the meat, but it's because of the proper use of the salt that we put on it. You know, I believe that good seasoning, if you season something well, good seasoning can make even a bad meal taste better. If you know what you're doing and you season it right and the seasoning's proper, you can make something that's not even all that great. You can make it taste a lot better. A lot of people, you know, they still have this misunderstanding that if you just pray long and hard, you know, the Spirit of Jesus will change things. But listen, folks, that's not really how it works. That's not really how it works. And in actuality, that kind of violates Jesus' purpose. Let me show you what I mean. In John 17:4, Jesus is speaking and he says, now I've glorified you on earth, Father. I've done that. And I have finished the work you gave me to do. I finished it. In other words, he says, I am done. Do you hear what I'm saying? I mean, while we're praying for the Spirit of Jesus to change things in our life and all of that, understand what he said. He said, Daddy, I did everything you gave me to do, and I am done. And when you really tear up the word done means done. I mean, it's done. Now, I know somebody is saying, well, how can that be so? How can he be done when the world is the way it still is? I mean, we still have issues. We still have problems. We still have things that are off. So how can it be that he says he's done? He's done. Well, the stuff that's left to do, that's up to me and you. That's us. That's our job because we are the salt. We are the element of change. And so here's the way I think of it. When we, in this world, when we get ready for change, when we really get ready to see things differently, when we really get ready to have our world move on a different path, it will move on a different path because we make that happen. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, you're taking way too much responsibility. No, that's the responsibility that he gave us. He said, and I'm quoting, you are the salt of the earth. You are the element of change. So here's the deal. Here's my question for you, because I got to put some action items here. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you making different? What are you making better? Let me ask you this question. If you left your job today, how difficult would it be? How much would they stress over the process of replacing you? If you stopped going to church, or you stopped going to school, or you stopped going to the club, or wherever it is that you frequent on a regular basis, if you stopped going, how long would it take for people to notice that you weren't there anymore? You want to know how long it should take? Well, let me answer a question with the question. How long would it take you to notice if someone prepared your favorite meal, but they didn't use your favorite seasonings? How long would it take for you to notice what was different? I mean, for some of us, the second that we bit into it, it'd be like, hold up, wait a minute, something's wrong. You got to get this thing worked out. This is not what it's supposed to be. Well, just as fast as you notice that, that's how it should be in our absence, because we are these elements of change, or at least that's the way that we're designed to be. That's how long it should take. And if it doesn't take people that long to notice our absence, how about this? Let's make a decision right now to get in the game, folks. Right here, while you listen to me right now, let's make a decision to get in the changing game, because that's what we're here to do, man. You're not on that job just to be receiving a check. Come on now. As a musician, I remember when I was heavy into music, into playing a lot, and you run into other musicians and you have conversations and stuff like that. And unfortunately, man, a lot of musicians had the idea that they were just sitting on the instruments to get a check. Really? That's it? Trust me now. I want to get paid. We're all going to get paid. Now, we need to get paid for whatever assignments that we have if we do them. But I need my impact to last far longer than the money. When the money has been spent, I need the impact that I have to still be taking place. If you want to know what it is that I'm pushing for in your life, in my life, it is for us to really take hold of that assignment that we have to really be elements of change. Man, I think it is our job. It is your job. It's my job to get out there and make a difference. I don't care where it is. I don't care what you're touching on, whatever your area is. I can't tell you how to make a change, but listen, it is your job. If you're there, things are supposed to be different because you're on it. Things ought to be better because you're attached to it. Things ought to be somehow different, somehow greater because you are involved. If they had somebody who was just a bench warmer, that'd be okay, but they didn't. They fooled around and assigned you to it. They fooled around and invited you. And I don't know if they know it or not, but that makes all the difference in the world, because you're not just a nobody. You are somebody who is assigned to make a difference. You are somebody who's assigned to be salt. You are somebody who is assigned. You're on a mission, even by Jesus himself, to be a light in a dark world. So, hey, things are different because you're on it. Do you know where you're at? Of course you do. You're listening to the BAP Project with Brian Anderson-Payne. This is Art Beats Lyrics Radio. The other way I say it is like this, ablradio.com. And you're back, folks, with the BAP Project. This is Brian Anderson-Payne. Arts Beats Lyrics Radio, ablradio.com. Hey, you know what? I do a lot of talking about change and impact. You're going to hear that quite a bit. But, the reality of why I spend a lot of time talking about change and our need to have impact, folks, it's because of fear. Yep, that's what I said. It's because of fear. And I know the Bible beaters are beating their Bibles right now, spitting at the computer, trying to tell me, don't you know what 2 Timothy 1:7 says? Yes, I know what it says. I know what it says. It says, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I know that. I know what it says. And I still said I do a lot of talk about this kind of stuff because of fear. Let me tell you what my fear is. Folks, my fear is irrelevance. Yes, I am terrified of not being relevant or not having impact. one of the scariest thoughts in the world to me, pray for me, one of the scariest thoughts in the world to me is simply to not matter. I mean, to not have purpose or to not make a difference. That's scary to me. And do you know this? There are actually scenarios in the scripture you could even find where it seems that God would support the idea of insignificance. Did I perk your antenna yet? You know that scripture we were talking about in Matthew 5? Matthew 5:13 says, you are the salt of the earth. And there's a period or semicolon or something. If you keep reading, the next word says, but, and let me just stop. You know, the people at church with me, you know, they already know when I say but, there's going to be a pause because I got to do some explaining. And here's why. Folks, in school, in grade school, I just really didn't pay a lot of attention to my English teachers. Unfortunately, I was too busy concentrating on how do I get the attention of Nairi Pride. I should have been thinking about English class, but I wasn't. If I had been, I would have heard my English teacher tell me that but is a negative conjunction. And what it does is it cancels everything that was said before it, and it changes the direction of everything that comes after it. So I always tell people, you know, if you're going to talk to me, you might as well just start at the but. For example, you know, somebody says, hey, you know what, I woke up this morning and, you know, I hit the lottery last week and my desire, I simply said, you know what, I'm getting ready to be a blessing to, state your name, I'm going to take you not out to eat, but we're going real estate hunting. And my whole idea of waking up was to buy you a house. But, now you didn't wake up until you heard the but, because now you want to know, but what? Because the but part says now it's time to really listen in on what's being said. So when Jesus says you're the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? The next sentence says it's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. This is Matthew 5:13, y'all. The NIV version is the one I read. He didn't say it was good for nothing. He just said it's good for nothing except a bad thing. It's good to be a footstool. It's good for nothing except to be thrown out and trampled by men. In other words, it's good to be the brunt of the joke. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being elected to be the example of what not to be? Who wants that job? I mean, everybody is an example in one way or another. I strongly believe that everybody is an example one way or the other. You know, some people, there are areas of my life that are the example of what you should do in certain situations. There are also examples in my life of exactly what not to do in certain situations. People are the same way. We're an example either of what to do in certain things or an example of what not to do. And Jesus says, when you don't use your ability to make a difference, in other words, we all have an ability to make a difference. He says, when you don't use your ability to make a difference, you are the weakest link. Now, you can tell me if I'm making that up, but I think I'm reading it right out of the scripture. I mean, you're no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by the foot of men. Yep, that's pretty bad. There's another story right there, the parable of talents over in Matthew 25:14. There's this story that reiterates this same point. You know, there's this one guy, he's got 5 talents. It's like money. He has some time, he goes out and he works and he gets 5 more talents. There's another guy, he's got 2 talents. He goes out and he does some work. He doesn't have as many as the guy who had 5, but he has enough to show productivity on his level, which that's really important to me because it says, I don't have to be as productive as Marcus is. I don't have to do what Marcus does. I just need to be sure that with what God gave me, I am every bit as productive as I can possibly be. And then the third guy, there's a guy who had 1 talent. The last guy, now he's the only one who goes different because he doesn't lose the talent or the gift that he had. He doesn't lose it. And when I say talent, it's referring to money, but he doesn't lose it. He just doesn't increase it. You know, the first 2 guys, they doubled what they had. The third guy, he comes back. He doesn't double it. Or rather, he doesn't lose it, but he doesn't double it. Watch what happens to him. Matthew 25, verse 24 says, Then the one who had received 1 talent came forward and said, Master, I knew that you were a hard man, harvesting where you haven't planted and gathering where you haven't scattered any seed. Being afraid, I went off and hid your talent in the ground. Here it is. See, I haven't lost it. Here it is. Take what's yours. Watch what verse 26 says. His master answered him, you evil, lazy Bama. Okay, maybe not. Maybe he didn't say Bama, but he called him an evil and lazy servant. So you knew that I harvested where I haven't planted and gathered where I haven't scattered only seed. He's asking, so you knew this? Then you should have invested my money with the bankers. When I returned, I would have received my money back with interest. Now, here's what you do. Take the talent from him and give it to the man who had 10 talents. For everyone who has something, more will be given, and he will have more than enough. But from the person who has nothing, even what he has will be taken from him. Man, the old folks used to say it like this. It seems like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And according to this text, that's kind of true, because here's what happens. Success breeds success, and failure breeds failure. And so what we want to do is make sure that we are being effective with what God gave us, because otherwise we end up being like the guy number 3, who even the bit that we have, the credit goes somewhere else. How do we breed more? How do we build even more? How do we grow even more? All we got to do is operate in the spirit of excellence. You know, Daniel 6:3 says that Daniel distinguished himself from everybody else because there was an excellent spirit in him. Here's the reality, y'all. If you do what you do and you do it with excellence, I guarantee you don't have to lie and scheme and backbite and all that kind of stuff. If you do what you do with excellence, I promise you, it will cause you to ultimately be preferred. All you got to do is take what God gave you and wear it out, man. I mean, kill it. I mean, every single time you go at it, kill it. And I promise you, you end up being preferred, because that's what the book says. And guess what? In this text, I believe what it said. How about you? Hey, this is Brian Anderson-Payne, and this is the BAP Project on Art Beats Lyrics Radio, ABLradio.com. This is Brian Anderson-Payne, and this is the BAP Project on Art Beats and Lyrics Radio, ABLradio.com. Hey, folks, listen, if you're in the Atlanta area on Sundays around 10 a.m., wake yourself up. Come on. I want you to make it a part of your plan to come hang out with us and visit with us over at the Universal Church of Truth in Lithonia. Now, listen now, right now, it's a little bitty old spot right now, but that's only because you haven't got there yet, okay? So if you can handle being in a comfortable, relaxed atmosphere where we really get into the book, man, I mean, we really get into it, make it your plan to stop by 1943 South Stone Mountain, Lithonia Road, Lithonia, Georgia. In case you need it, the zip code is 30058. Hey, listen, this is what I want you to do. I want you to visit the website, connect with me, and share your thoughts on the program, man. And understand this program is for you. Now, we're doing it. Marcus and I, we put in work to do it. But here is the deal. It's for you. So if it's not beneficial to you, it's not really benefiting us. So I need to hear from you, and I want to know your thoughts, and I want to know how you feel about it. This is the day and time where we're not constricted or confined. I don't know if I want to use that word. I won't use that one. We don't have to do what the corporate heads tell us to do. We get to kind of make it what we want it to be. So I want to hear from you. So go to brianandersonpayne.com. Leave your thoughts on the program. Tell me how we can make this even better. And don't be offended if I don't get to use all of your suggestions. But know this, you matter. And I want to hear from you. Know this now. I look forward to seeing you here. We're just going to be here on a regular basis, making sure that we pour into you, hopefully making you feel a little bit better, sharing good news. That's what I believe gospel is. That's what we're going to do. I promise. We commit to it, and that's what we're going to do. Don't forget now, I'm the guy who says, don't complain about a world you won't attempt to change. This is Brian Anderson-Payne, and this is the BAP Project on Art Beats Lyrics Radio, ABLradio.com.